So Gothamites, the final episode of Gotham ever has aired. Like, that's it. No more reviews from me, no more trailer breakdowns. So this is a very bittersweet video. Bruce has become Batman, so this is a big deal for this finale episode. So let's break this episode for the last time, guys, of Gotham Season 5, Episode 12 down. How's it going, Gothamites? Welcome to my final breakdown of Gotham. My final review, my final everything. There's no more trailers after this. That doesn't mean I just want to say a couple things right off the top of the bat. You can skip through this, I guess, if you don't care so much about the sentimentalities and my little message or whatever and other updates to go straight to the breakdown. But I will still be doing the odd occasional Gotham video. I don't want to keep like the flame going when it's really meaning to be put out, if that makes sense. That's like a bad analogy. But what I'm trying to say there is I'm not going to keep making videos to keep it going forever and ever. But what I'm saying is I'll probably do top 10 villain lists. A lot of you guys have been wanting that for the longest time. And stuff like that. Maybe Gotham could have done this differently, looking back at this. The occasional video like that, but don't expect it like every week or anything like that. But it will be coming. But for those of you who have stuck around on this channel since when I started reviewing the show in Season 3, I said this in my trailer breakdown, but thank you so much for your support on this channel. I really appreciate every single one of you guys who have commented, liked, or just even clicked on the video to view it. I really appreciate every single one of you so much. So thank you all for your support over the past couple of years or so. If you want to stay in contact with me and talk about Gotham, or if you know Gotham was the only thing that you watched on this channel, you can definitely join my Discord server. Down in the description, a link to the server is there, where you can talk about not just Gotham but everything as well. But I do want to put it up on the board that you guys will still probably be interested in my future content, even if like you don't watch any of the other Arrowverse shows or like any DC Universe shows. I'm still gonna have content for you guys, so I definitely recommend checking out DC Universe though, for like Titans, which is very Bat Family-esque. I will obviously be covering DC EU for Batman movie news from Matt Reeves, the Batman films, obviously the Joker movie that's coming out in October. This channel isn't Batman focused, but I'm still gonna keep a lot of Batman-esque stuff up for you guys. And we've got Pennyworth coming around the corner, where I'm sure I'll keep a couple of updates for you guys there. But I just wanted to say all of that because, you know, I'm sure there's some content that you guys will still enjoy. But for those of you who generally are going after this, thank you so much for sticking around with me on this channel, and thank you for coming along on the ride. It was great to talk about this show with you. I look forward to carrying on this channel with you guys one way or another through whatever nerdy topic I'm talking about in whatever video. So let's now get into the breakdown, guys. So this episode, guys, it was good, but I'm seeing a lot of kind of mixed reactions, and I knew this would always be the case. And I can't believe every single time I went to edit a video of my trailer breakdown for the final episode, I'm like, why did I forget to say how long the episode length is? Because each time I kept getting comments saying, oh, I'm really hoping the finale is 2 hours. Now, a lot of people obviously knew that wasn't the case already, but there's still like a minority audience, or some majority at least, thinking it was going to be like over an hour. But really, like a lot of us have known, it's only a normal length episode. So, you know, you're getting the criticisms of, oh my god, they did the 10-year time jump like that, or F this shit, F that, you know. And I honestly think they did a good job, for if you factor in the fact that it's a 40-something minute episode, normal length TV slot, and they have to address 10 years later of the Gotham universe with only so many characters. I know some people like saying they didn't even address Mr. Freeze on Firefly, but think about it really logically. How could they do that? How could they? It's just not doable. So, you know, for what they did, I really enjoyed this episode. I did have a few issues though, and I'm sure I'll point that out in this review. But if you couldn't tell already, this is going to be a long-ass video, and I don't give a flying F because it's the last ever Gotham video I'm posting. So even if this ends up to be freaking half an hour long, which it looks like it's probably going to be, including the freaking thank you at the beginning, yeah, it's strap yourselves in, grab some popcorn, grab a soda, grab a coffee, because this is going to be like watching an episode, but an episode of BobaTalks. So at the beginning of the episode, guys, of course, we had Bruce arriving to get his Batman training. Now, obviously, this wasn't in the 10-year time jump. He was in present day, so obviously he had that letter to Alfred, letting him know that he's okay, and he will return when he can protect Gotham. And, you know, there's not really too much to say about this part. It was pretty cool. I was kind of hoping for a montagey kind of thing, but that didn't happen. I understand why these things were kind of cut. as I said a second ago, there's so much they have to kind of do as to the point where it's not going to please everyone. So I thought this was cool. Then immediately it jumped in the 10 years later scene with Gordon talking to the mayor, and they're discussing that somebody is attacking the gangs downtown. So the theory at the minute in that point of the episode is that Cobblepot has hired somebody to put the fear of God into criminals of the underworld, as he's, leaving Blackgate now, and maybe he wants to take him over, but first of all he's got to scare them all off, so when he arrives, everybody's like not ready maybe for the Penguin. We also learned that Jim wanted to resign from being commissioner, and he even told the mayor that he wanted to do that months ago. Now the one thing in this episode is that, for the most part, people don't look older. That's one of my criticisms. Now, I'm not going to be too harsh on it, because obviously you got people like Alfred, hair's white. That's believable, I guess. We got Lily Simmons as Catwoman, obviously older than Cameron B. Condover's Selina Kyle. But other than that, Jim looked good. The mustache looked great, but I'll talk about that in a minute. And he had a little bit of very slight silvery grey in his hair, so that's believable. But Harvey, Harvey didn't age a day. Lucius didn't age a day. And I can keep that list going on. Riddler didn't. I just feel like, I don't know. I don't want to pretend like I've been in TV shows or sets and stuff like that, but I have seen TV shows where they do age people up. But it's like they didn't even particularly bother with quite a few characters, like not even remotely to try and even age them. I mean, obviously we had Oswald with a bit of weight, but I just do feel like they could have done a little bit of a better job there. Moving swiftly on, guys, this is where we met Barbara and Baby Papa Gordon, who isn't, that's my nickname for Barbara Lee Gordon, if you didn't know, if you're new here. But yeah, this is where we met Barbara with the red hair. She's kind of boasting about, oh, I can't wait to tell Bruce Wayne that, his building's not going to be the tallest one. And so that was quite funny, because obviously this whole thing is about Bruce Wayne returning for the new Wayne Tower, and Barbara's got a trumpet by having a bigger one. So I guess since being a criminal, she's just been buying up a load of real estate, and and that's perfect timing after No Man's Land. Maybe not many people want to live in Gotham, so she invested a lot of her money into several different buildings. So yeah, she's probably rich as AF, By the way, if it sounds like I'm kind of like glossing over some scenes like that, for example, it's just because I have got like double or almost triple the amount of like kind of notes that I have to get through, and so much stuff happened in this episode, so I'm just going to be light with a few things. So this is where we went to Arkham Asylum, where we first saw Ed. So essentially, Ed realizes that Bruce is back. He also learns that Oswald is being freed. This absolutely triggered him, which I found pretty funny. But, it was really fun to see Edward Nygma. He's always been more unhinged than Oswald, but, even more so now that he's been locked up in Arkham Asylum with other inmates like that, to the point where he even feels more crazier in this episode and more unpredictable, to the point where you can think that this character in the future is going to be way more dangerous than he ever used to be 10 years ago in Gotham. This is where I guess you could say we first saw Jay. The inmates were like effing around with him, and Nygma was like, hey, he's a legend, but if you want to F around with him, you got to do it properly. So he shanked like a pencil in his leg. Obviously Jeremiah, little did we know at this point, was pretending to be brain dead. There wasn't really much of an explanation there, but I guess we'll talk about that in a little bit. But this is where Echo picks up Jay. So this is where we had the gym scene with Lee. Now they didn't even show him shaving off the mustache, and to be honest, I really do feel like they should have let Jim keep the mustache. It did suit him. It did work. Why didn't they decide to keep it? Was it... This is something I'm trying to figure out. I'm not one of those super traditionalist guys. Well, I am in the sense of I would have wanted Jim to have the mustache, period. But I'm not one of those guys who's going to absolutely say F the finale because he didn't have it. It makes no sense. Why would the writers do this? But it does make me think, why did the writers do this, in the sense of, are they really... I don't think they're flipping off the fans, but are they just thinking, oh, we're different, we're Gotham, so we don't have to have the mustache. We did it as a little tease, but our show's different, so we're not going to do it. If it did do that, I do feel like it was a little bit of a middle finger, only in the sense of, sure enough, Gotham, you have done a lot of things differently, but give the fans that for the whole episode. It worked on freaking Ben McKenzie. It really suited him. So I don't know if it was necessary to do the Gotham thing by removing the stash. I'm sure a lot of fans feel that way as well, especially from what I'm reading. Other than that, Jim says he was hoping Gotham would outgrow him when regarding talking about the retirement. He says it hasn't, since he's been protecting it the past 10 years, nobody has stepped forward. Obviously a little cool foreshadowing there that Bruce is stepping forward, the Batman is stepping forward and taking up Gotham kind of over from Jim. So in theory that should make him want to retire even more when Batman's here, but as a result, if anything, it's going to inspire him, and that's what happened towards the end of this episode where he decided not to retire anymore. Then Jim and Lee, or should I say G and Lim, put a thumbs up for all of you guys who remember me saying that 70 times. We're talking about, I wonder what Bruce will think of Selina, and this leads me to talk about Selina because as they were talking about her, it cut to her stealing the diamond. I've already kind of spoke about this in the trailer breakdown, because the trailers do often, as I always say, show a lot of what the Gotham episodes contain, but it was really cool seeing Selina do this, completely Catwoman. Don't know what more to say than I absolutely love this scene. I really love Lily Simmons as Cameron Beacondover's older version. I have to admit, at first when this leaked and I covered it, I wasn't so sure, but now, I've seen it again and again and again. She really does look like an older version of her, even though she's a different human being. They did a very good, recasting there. So kudos to the casting guy or gal who makes those decisions. Also, we had Bruce spying on Selina as well, just kind of lurking in the background, and kind of Selina knew that it was him. But this leads me to talk about that scene where Harvey was at gunpoint. Harvey got to the point, though, where he was so intimidated and frightened by who he was speaking to on the phone that he had to and wanted to confess to that murder. Jim knew he was lying and couldn't figure out why he would possibly do that. What's got him so nervous to the point where he would do that? And that's what I really loved about this episode. They're doing several different things, but they managed to put this kind of cool little story arc with Jay. Not that we knew this necessarily at the time. Maybe you did. Let me know down in the comments below. But they managed to put quite an intimidating storyline or plot, almost like a weekly episode plot in the finale, and then it made it all tie together very nicely. Because at this point the episode was trying to make you think that this was something to do with the Riddler's plan or Penguin's plan or something like that, but no, it was the Joker really. And to add to the deception even more, this is where Nigma got that box and the letter from Oswald, but it wasn't really Oswald, and this contained a load of explosives and I assume Edward's suit. Speaking of Oswald, this is where we first see him in the episode suiting and booting up. Great theme as always, the Penguin's theme as he's walking out Blackgate. Looks absolutely great too. I love his look. Could be maybe a bit more thicker. That's one criticism of the time jump that I've seen from, weeks and weeks and weeks prior to this episode actually airing. But, when you actually see him walking, you can see where they have added in the fat to make him look like a bit more of a comic book accurate Penguin. And I was satisfied with it. But this is where we had Batman looking at the blueprints, and we got to hear that sweet GCPD just a couple more times in this episode. That's never gonna die, that meme. I absolutely love Ben McKenzie saying GCPD, one of the biggest and OGest Gotham memes out there. So this is where Jim first runs into Batman, and we hear the whole "I'm not your enemy," and this was pretty cool. I have to admit, Batman freaking told them to not look at the bodies or touch the bodies, because they later realized that he might be an ally of theirs because the bodies were rigged with C4. Obviously, as we saw from the trailers, he freaking jumps out the window after throwing a smoke grenade. But other than that, as predicted, guys, just as a general comment here on the Batman in the episode, it would have been cool if they would have got, I think this is a permission-y thing, because I think if they had full permission to show him do this, do that, and a massive whopping ass budget, they would have shown the Batman very focused. But as predicted, he was blurry as F throughout the whole episode. You only saw a flap of the cape here and there, a flap of the cape there, or maybe running from behind and jumping through a window, but you don't really get to see him. Now, you may be seeing on screen right now, this is actually what the Batman suit looks like from the guy who was the stunt double actor wearing it, and it looks kind of I think I appreciate it more in these Instagram videos, just because I guess you get to see it up close, and it actually looks a lot better than what I thought. I would even go as far as saying it kind of looks cooler than the final shot we saw, but I guess I'll talk about that then. But I'll leave the Instagram tag in the description down below if you want to see this video for yourself. So of course, guys, the number one thing that Oswald wanted to do was to get revenge on Jim Gordon after leaving Blackgate. So he took him to the docks, very reminiscent of season 1 episode 1, where Jim had to shoot or pretend to shoot Penguin off the docks. There wasn't too much to this scene. It was a really powerful scene because it was our story ends here, and the story really did begin with Oswald Cobblepot and Jim Gordon way back in season 1. Oswald was such a big, you could argue, like Gotham's most highlighted character, to be honest, especially in season 1. He really carried this show. So yeah, I really appreciated the scene, but as a whole thing, it didn't add too much to the episode, apart from Jim realizing that you're not the one who's planning this. Oh, who could it be if it's not you? Because they didn't fully realize that it was the Joker. I'm gonna freaking call him the Joker, F it, you know what I mean? That who was actually organizing all of this. Either way, guys, this is where we had the Wayne party. Alfred and Selina reunite. He says it's been quite a while. Doesn't say how long it has been, but as I mentioned in my previous finale trailer breakdown, I assume it hasn't been years and years and years, but it's just been a long time, to the point where Selina doesn't really talk to Bruce much anymore. Sorry, Alfred much anymore after Bruce left. So obviously Selina is very kind of pissed and wants to see Bruce, and also wants him to stop spying on her, because she knew earlier when she was stealing the diamonds that it was him lurking. Obviously pissed about him coming back after 10 years and acting like nothing's happened. But I found it pretty cool how they showed that TV station saying Bruce Wayne's first public appearance in a decade on TV. I would have loved to have seen that, but you know, Alfred seemed to have been doing the speech for him. Like, Bruce is too busy being Batman, and that is cool, like very cool, because it's very comic booky, like Alfred always having to make excuses, sorry, Master Wayne is and really is out being Batman somewhere. But you know, at the same time, I would have loved to have seen like Bruce Wayne. Even I was kind of hoping, in a little back corner of my mind, since it was on the TV screen, if they got like a really blurry, like Titans-esque stunt double version of Bruce Wayne to come in on the TV. But you know, they can't do that. They don't really have time to do that. I guess they didn't want to do it because they had this other plan, but it would have been cool if they would have done that. Like, as I said, like, he just steps on stage to go onto that pedestal to make the speech, but you can't really make out it's David Mazouz, but some blurry dark-haired guy. So at this point of the episode, guys, they realize that there are bombs in like the models of the buildings, where, you know, all those buildings were laid out in the Wayne Tower party kind of thing, and this was essentially spelling out, oh, who blew up the previous clock tower? You remember when Jeremiah pressed the button and then it went boom? So this essentially explains why Harvey was so scared, and even we got that scene where the cop has a wire on him. Now, I loved this. I really did love it. Like, Joker's plan was so crafty, to the point where it was like reading something out of a comic book. This is where stuff kind of started to begin to end, should I say, for Oswald and Ed, because that's when the Batman landed on their car. Yet again, as predicted, don't see a thing really, apart from the fact that they're scared the crap out of. And then we got that scene where they were getting engulfed by Batman, and you see the cape like kind of transition the scene to the next scene, but they're screaming their freaking asses off because they're about to get grapple hooked up to the lamppost, which we saw later on in the episode. And in terms of Lucius, even though we didn't get barely anything of him this episode, I was so happy that they included that line of him saying, when Bruce came to me that day, he got back and told me what he was planning. I didn't hesitate. Like, he believes in what Bruce is doing. But this is where we had Jay's like full, I guess, presence in the episode, where we were seeing Echo and Barbara in the Sirens bar. Jay introduces himself. And as I said, this is where we really get to see Jay in motion, and I really enjoyed his performance. It's 100% different to Jeremiah. It's like this a combination of all the Valeskas, and I think I'm not like quoting Cameron Monaghan there, but like kind of paraphrasing what he said, is that it is like an amalgamation of like all of them, if that makes sense. And no matter what you have to say about the Joker's storyline throughout Gotham, I do appreciate it from the aspect that there's been 3. We have Jerome Valeska, Jeremiah Valeska, and now this kind of new person. Technically 2, but 3 in personality ways, to the point where it really does add that element of the Joker where, and they spell that across on the screen here, that they really focused on how this iteration of Jay doesn't know how to hold on to what's really real. For example, he says, then again, there was another me too. It's enough to drive you mad, when he was talking to Barbara about you used to look different or something like that. So it's hard to focus on what's real. Like, this is perfect beginnings for the Joker in this period of time where Batman has come to the city. This leads me to talk about that little struggle that happened where Barbara managed to shank Echo. We had Jay shooting Echo. And how do I feel about that? Obviously, it's just that line, like, there's other fish in the sea. I get it. Like, I'm not mega mad, but I would have probably kept, I don't know, maybe it was a good decision in retrospect, because I don't like it. I would have liked Francesca Dodson to be this Jay's Harley Quinn. They've basically given everything to Echo's character apart from the traditional Harleen Quinzel psychiatrist. He goes to the freaking Arkham, seduces Harleen Quinzel. But the fact that they have done that now leaves room for that to happen in this universe. There's literally no excuse why they couldn't do Harleen Quinzel now. So that's the good thing about it. For example, obviously with what happens in this episode, Jay gets knocked out by the Batarang. People keep thinking he's dead. I've got quite a few messages about that. He's not dead, by the way. I guess I'll talk about that a little bit later. But you know, I assume he would have been shipped up, packaged to Arkham by the end of this episode. And then who would be working at Arkham 10 years later when Bruce is like 27, 28? We've got the Joker now. Well, a little kind of innocent, I guess, Harleen Quinzel, and that's where you can imagine this universe going onwards there. So, you know, Echo was like a proto Harley Quinn, definitive proto Harley Quinn. The only thing is that you may not agree with is like you may not like the idea of why would the Harleen Quinzel want to copy Echo. Well, my comic book logic for that is just, you know, she's so infatuated with the Joker, she will do what he wants, and he wants her to look like the jesterish, you know, Harleen, or should I say Echo from beforehand. So, you know, makes sense in my head, I guess, or at least that's the way I'm choosing to look at this. So guys, this review has been so long already, but we're getting to the end of the episode now. So Jim goes to the place where he was born again to save baby Papa Gordon, so where Jay was born again. And this is where Jay is holding Barbara above the chemicals, and he explains how the ACE chemicals remind him of how his flesh sizzled as it melted away. And, you know, I'm glad they included that line, because a lot of people are like, why does he look like that? And I kept replying to people saying, well, what do you think a bath of chemicals would do but melt off your face? But then that's when people would say, but they've never done that kind of before. And I'm like, they kind of have in the comics. But I guess it's just not the popularized versions that a lot of people pretend to like flagship with, like, oh, Heath Ledger's got makeup, Jared Leto's got makeup, this person's like that. But really, like, you know, the Joker has, you know, fallen in the bath of chemicals before and been severely disfigured, and that's all Gotham has done. So anyone who's saying that this isn't comic book accurate is actually really way off. The only thing I will give you there is the hair, but that's, you know, neither here nor there in terms of he could still spot the hat. He's still very jokery looking. So yeah, again, more emphasis on Jay, not Jeremiah, knowing who he is and being more in the ideology of the Joker in his mind, because Jim says Jeremiah, and he's like, is there a Jeremiah here? You know, he doesn't know, like, what Jim is on about. If he does, it's like, you know, when you're getting a thought and then you're about to talk to your friends about it, but then you forget it and you can feel it on the edge of your synapse in your brain, but you can't get it back. That's probably what it feels like to be Jay now, in reference to being Jeremiah. And they even teased this season before he fell in the chemical bath that he was talking to himself. Do you remember in that underground mining scene with Echo? And he was just saying, oh yeah, he will like it, and he was talking to himself. So you could even factor in that Jerome is in his head after the Scarecrow / Joker laughing gas that gave Jeremiah his first cosmetic change. That's what I like to think. So he's actually got the combination of 3 people in his head: Jerome, Jeremiah, and I guess the mix of those two, Jay. Gordon confirms that Jeremiah was pretending to be brain dead. Like, Jay even admitted that, to be fair. So, you know, that's a bit like of a loose end, or they're brushing it off. Like, the medical results showed in the present day, if you will, that Jeremiah was brain dead. But, you know, the comic book logic you can apply to that, as I always say, is that he was, but then he maybe woke up from that coma, I don't know, a few months later. They didn't really run any more tests, which, you know, the healthcare service, or, you know, the care provided at Arkham probably isn't the best, so they probably wouldn't waste the money on just checking if he's still brain dead. So basically, explanation there, he woke up X amount of time, could have been 3 months after when he fell in the pit and they saw the brain dead results, or 2 years, 3 years, but ever since then, he was pretending to be brain dead, concocting this master plan, but also adding in the factor of, this is very Dark Knight Returns-y. He didn't really see much point in living or doing anything until he came home. The Batman came home. And as Jay even explained that himself, do you know what it feels like to be completely abandoned? Like, because he feels like Bruce abandoned him. The one thing you love ripped away. But that's when Bruce arrives, guys. Baby Papa Gordon was about to fall in. Jim was getting stabbed as he was holding the rope. This was really, really cool. I do admit, I was really hoping for a Batman in this scene, like a first look at the suit, maybe even CGI, so it might have looked like kind of better in a sense, because it would have been dark, but it would have been like a 3D rendered model of the Batman. But what they did is like darken the corner, and like Jay saw him, but the audience didn't see him. And, you know, I appreciate maybe with what they were going for there, but I'm still leaning more towards the fact that they couldn't do it. Sure, you could easily say, oh, they could have, but they just decided to do something dark and cinematic. But so it works both ways, but, you know, I would have liked to have seen him. So, yeah, Jay saw him, we didn't, but he said you, so he knows that that's Bruce Wayne. So he was like having an epiphany right there and then of amazing feelings, but loved it even more when he got the freaking Batarang for his hand, because he just realized they're gonna play this dance back and forth poetically between the rest of Batman's Gotham days. It was a really powerful scene. A lot of people, as I say, keep saying when he got the Batarang to the head, is he dead? No, honestly, that was just like ding, like knocked him out. Yes, I know it went for his hand, but you know, it pinged off his skull, if you will. So going along to the next scene, guys, that's where we had Harvey and Jim talking about Batman, basically. Like Harvey was saying, so the dude's on our side. Alfred arrives. Yet again, Bruce is otherwise engaged. And as I thought, guys, no bat emblem on the signal. Not massive in my mind, like not a massive problem. Just think about it logically, as I said in my previous video. He's just arrived in town, actually 2 weeks before, but Jim and everyone's leading theory that it was Oswald who hired somebody probably to run around in a costume to scare the criminal underworld. So why the hell would Jim have already got like an emblem stenciled or cut out in metal to put on a bat signal? So fair enough, he kind of got the kind of feeling that this Batman, mysterious guy cracking down on criminals this episode, was an ally. But how would they have made it there and then? They wouldn't have. So I do get why they didn't apply the bat emblem onto the signal, but they still wanted, like Jim still wanted to light the signal up, because I guess he was starting that process to associate the freaking light is the hope with Batman. So yeah, I hope maybe that changes your mind if you're one of the people raging about the bat signal, maybe. Of course, we had Selina talking to Bruce, and this actually really did make me tear up. I did not expect that with another actress. I didn't think I would feel that way with Lily Simmons, but you know, with the lines that she said, like, because she was talking about how like Bruce leaving affected her, he was all that she had. And this was really, really sad. Now, I honestly thought at the same time as well, the aged up voice of David Mazouz here was decent. He was like, I'll never leave Gotham again. And it was different to the voice modulated version of when he talked to Jim saying, I'm not your enemy. It feels like he turned the switch off here, so there's no robotic growl to it. So he was just talking to Selina in his voice, but they definitely aged it up. And I was like, man, that's really good. Like, that's like a 27-year-old David Mazouz. Like, it was really, really cool. And then his last remark was, return the diamond. And then, like, she was like, yeah, right. So really good scene. It really made me upset where she was like, you're all I had. And that just broke my heart, because, you know, you think of Selina looking at him as he took off on the plane. But, you know, really nice to see that start between those two. Catwoman got to continue stealing things. Bruce in their little flirty relationship as he does this and she does that throughout the X amount of time they're gonna do this. It's just, you can see where it's going, and it's great. This is what I love about Gotham as well. It's like, usually you wouldn't have thought them meeting as kids like the way they have done, but they've done it in such a way where it works perfectly, to the point where Batman's in town now. Catwoman's been doing Catwoman things. They have a fat history together, and that's kind of different from the comic books in a lot of ways, but it works perfectly well. It's not like Bruce is just coming to town, meeting a girl called Selina Kyle, and there's a bit of flirtatious banter between those two and problems. No, it works even better, I think, with a history of them knowing each other as teenagers. Obviously, guys, I love that scene between Oswald and Ed at the end when they were getting transported in the van, probably to go back to Blackgate and Enigma to go back to Arkham. But we actually hear him reciting what Batman said. Like, so Batman said to Enigma and Oswald that Gotham is mine. A very Batman thing to say to the criminals, like, get the F out of it, man. Gotham's mine. You want to, like, contest that? Let's have at it. And then, of course, we got that line where it says, I did not spend 10 years in Blackgate to give my city to a man dressed like a bat. That is perfect, perfect, perfect. So this bit was so funny as well, because they escaped the transport van and they want to find Batman to show them what, the city means to them, and it's their city. But that's when they see the Batman grapple hook. You hear the grapple hook go, jump across the building, and they're like, tomorrow? yeah, tomorrow. That's just brilliant. Like, they don't really want to go up against him. They're not prepared. And it just shows the power and the fear that the Batman has instilled on his enemies already, which is the point of the symbol. And then, of course, everyone, we get the final shot in the episode. And that's where we see Batman opposite the GCPD with, you know, as expected, David Mazouz's face CGI'd onto him. And I do think they could have made him a little bit older, like, you know, because that's what they did. The original stunt double guy had like dots on his face, and they put David Mazouz on there. They did it very, very well. Looked like it was actually him in the suit, like, but bigger, 6'4" and bulkier. But he looked the same age, maybe 20 if you want to push it. I think maybe it would have been cool I think maybe they did barely, but if they added a tiny bit of stubble onto his face, that would have made all the difference. I know Batman doesn't always have stubble, but you know what I mean. I think it would have made that difference, and I'm sure it would have been easy to do, but that's just a small criticism. You know, as for the suit itself, it looked good in ways, but I still have the same criticisms of I don't like that gap between the breastplate with the emblem on it and the belly. A lot of people defended that point after I said that, saying, but it's for maneuverability. But my response to that is, well, what about all the other Batman suits that don't leave a gap between that, and they still have the maneuverability? So I still like it, though. As I said, you're probably seeing the video on screen again now of the stunt double's Instagram video of him, you know, saying, oh, so, you know, I've been getting to do this awesome role. Like, it's been amazing to be a part of this. Like, who wouldn't want a stunt double as Batman in the final episode of Gotham? But it looks really good here. And it looked good in the final shot, of course. I'm just saying, I don't know, maybe stubble and a bit more. I don't know. It looked good. And this is Batman Year 1. Don't forget, he's only going to get more techier from here on out and all that good stuff. So I get it. And obviously, guys, Jim knows who this guy is. Like, Bruce Wayne has been very busy, hasn't he, Alfred? Oh, and look, there's this guy opposite the mother freak. It's kind of obvious. It's very obvious. So that's why Jim is going to be all right with a vigilante running around the streets. This is why Jim's hope to clean up Gotham City has caused him to not retire, and it was a nice ending to the whole 5-year series, guys. And that is my review. And Jesus mother effing age of Christ, it's been 44 minutes. I mean, maybe not 44 minutes for you, but on me, blabbering away, it's been going 44 minutes now. So, you know, that was a nice way to wrap up the episode with all things in consideration. Obviously, it could have been better if it was longer, if they did more things, but like, under all things considered, with what they had to do, it was a good episode. I enjoyed it. And I don't know what else there is to say, because I've said literally everything I probably could about every scene. Thank you so much, guys, again, for sticking around with me on YouTube. You guys definitely provided a solid foundation for me here. I hope you continue to enjoy my future content. As I said, there will be the occasional Gotham video coming around, but check out some of my other future Batman content. You know, whether that's in the Titans DC Universe streaming service stuff, or whatever else comes Batman and Joker, because this will still be like your #1 channel, because anything Joker or anything you want to know about, like, that's worth knowing about, I'm gonna mother flipping be on it, so don't worry about that. So for those of you who have stuck around to this point in the video, I actually was meant to do this ages ago, but I think it seems appropriate now. I ordered like loads and loads and loads of postcards for my Patreon, because it's like the top tier, one of the top tier gifts, like privileges you get from pledging to me. So what I want to do is pick 5 people to write a handwritten note to say thank you for supporting me. Some of you may not give a shit about this, like, fair enough if you don't, but if you want, because this is some of my old merch design and channel design as well. It's me as like a kind of Killing Joke-esque kind of thing. You've got the old BobaTalks logo on it. You can't see that in the corner there. So I'll write a little message to you guys. For those of you who care, leave a comment in the comment section down below with, I don't know, like, write whatever you want, but if you want to qualify for this, when I select the random comment, type in Baby Papa Gordon, just to qualify for it. So I'll be choosing 5 people. I'll send these off at some point. Don't worry, you will get it. The way I'll announce the winners will be through probably Twitter and my community section on my YouTube channel. So if you do win, contact me on Twitter or through YouTube and provide your address. But other than that, guys, I hope that's something I can do for you guys in terms of like a little, you know, I could do a giveaway for a pop, but I feel like this is more personal, the fact that it's handwritten. But I'm going to end the video now, guys. So thank you so much for watching, guys. It's the last time I'm going to say this. So weird doing it. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you Gothamites hopefully in the next video. Goodbye.